father made of quiet sacrifice. The world didn't hear the way his shoes wore thin. No one noticed the way his hands cracked in the winter, or how his shoulders slumped a little more with each passing year. To everyone else, Imran was just another man in a faded shirt walking home after work. But to me, he was the man who carried the weight of 1,000 unspoken dreams so I could live mine. My father never had much, not in money, not in luxuries, but he had an ocean of patience and a will forged from quiet hardship. He worked as a mechanic in a small, dimly lit workshop on the edge of the city. The air there smelled of oil and rust, and the days were long, sometimes stretching from before dawn until the moon climbed high in the sky. He came home with grease on his face and dust in his lungs, yet never with complaints on his lips. When I was a child, I didn't see the sacrifices. I only saw the small moments: a crumpled chocolate bar in his hand when he came home, a paper kite he made from leftover newspaper, the way he'd lift me onto his shoulders to watch the city lights. To me, those were normal. I didn't know they were bought with skipped lunches and extra hours under broken cars. School was always his priority for me. He'd say, "Beta, I'll work so you can read. My hands are rough so yours can hold books, not tools." At the time, I thought it was just something fathers said. But when the school fee notices came, I started to see the truth. There were nights he ate only bread and tea so my tuition could be paid. He never told me, but I saw the food left untouched. He'd wave it off with a smile, saying he wasn't hungry. The first real blow came when my mother fell ill. Hospital visits, medicines, and tests began to drain what little savings we had. I saw him standing in line at the pharmacy, counting coins twice before handing them over. Some days I'd hear him quietly talking to himself, calculating how to pay the rent and still keep the lights on. But whenever he saw me, his face changed. He'd smile as if nothing was wrong. He was a man who carried storms inside but never let them wet the ground his children walked on. There was one night I'll never forget. A heavy rainstorm flooded the streets, and I was supposed to have my school exams the next morning. Electricity had gone out, and I was trying to study by candlelight. Without a word, my father walked outside into the pouring rain. I didn't understand why until he came back, soaked to the bone. Holding an old car battery and a small bulb he had salvaged from the workshop, he wired it together and lit my desk. "Now study," he said, shaking the water from his hair. His hands were trembling from the cold, but his eyes were warm. As I grew older, I started to notice how his life was built entirely around giving. He didn't buy new clothes unless the old ones were beyond repair. His shoes had been resoled so many times they were a patchwork of leather and thread. The money he could have spent on himself was always spent on Asan's school, on groceries, on rent, on my younger sister's dreams of becoming a doctor. The hardest part came during my university years. The tuition was more than he could afford, but he never let me see his struggle. I found out later he had sold his old motorcycle, his only means of transport, to pay my admission fee. For the next 4 years, he walked to work every single day, through summer heat and winter fog, without telling me why. The day I graduated, I searched the crowd for his face. When I found him, he was standing in the back, quietly clapping, his smile wide, but his eyes damp. After the ceremony, I hugged him and whispered, "Abu, I know everything you did for me." He didn't say anything, he just patted my back, as if words weren't necessary. Years later, when I finally had a stable job and could buy him the things he had long denied himself, he refused the big gestures. "I don't need anything," he'd say. But one day, I managed to convince him to take a day off and go with me to the shoe store. As he tried on a pair of soft leather shoes, I noticed his old pair in the corner, worn, torn, and tired, just like the years he had endured for us. That moment broke me. Looking back now, I realize my father was not a man of grand speeches or visible heroics. He was a man of quiet sacrifice, the kind the world rarely celebrates. But his love was deep, steady, and unshakable, like the roots of a tree you can't see but that hold everything upright. And maybe that's the thing about fathers like him. They don't ask to be noticed. They just keep giving, keep standing, keep carrying the load until you're strong enough to carry your own. His sacrifices built my life, and his silence taught me that love doesn't always roar, it sometimes works quietly, with rough hands and worn shoes. To this day, whenever I achieve something, I think of him not as the man who gave me everything I wanted, but as the man who gave up everything he could have had, just so I could stand taller. A father made of quiet sacrifice. my father.